So let's imagine that we have a rectangle and our up and down length is determined by the function u, so we'll actually just call that u, and our left to right length is determined by the function v, so we'll call that v. So the area of this rectangle represents the product of the two functions u times v. Now of course what we're interested in is how is that product changing as we change the height and length of this rectangle. So let's represent those changes. Again, our up and down length is u, but then we're going to change it just a little bit and we call that du, right? That's the very tiny little bit of change that we're looking at in the value of the function. And our length, we already said, was v, but we're interested in just this tiny bit of change on the end, dv. You can tell that in the same way, u times v, the product of these two functions was the bulk of the area of that rectangle. We could say, well, this area up here is going to be v du, so that is our length v times that little bit of up and down change du, in the same way that this area here is going to be u dv. That is, it's going to be the product of the height u times that very little bit of change dv. Now there is this square here, and this square has the area du dv. But hopefully you're starting to see where these different quantities are going. V du, that's the same thing as the derivative of u times the function v. U dv, that's the same thing as the derivative of v times the function u. Now you should be wondering, well, wait a second, where's the du dv in the original product rule? And this is where this visual representation requires a little bit of hand waving. We have to say, well, remember, du and dv are both very, very small. So when you multiply them together, you get something that's even smaller, something that's so small it's essentially indistinguishable from zero, and so we ignore it. So there you have it. That's a visual representation of what's going on with the product rule. When we have some product uv, the rate of change of that product, the derivative of that product, is going to be essentially these two different rectangles that we're looking at. V times the derivative of u plus u times the derivative of v.